Everyone. I haven't been very well. I'm down with typhoid. That's why I've been away from social media. But these are important dates in the history of Delhi, the uprising of 1857. Today is the 12th. And I have described these in a number of books. Of course, the translation of Dastan-e-Ghadar itself, then Tears of the Begum. And then I wrote a book on the uprising of 1857, a historical novel called and A Firestorm in Paradise. So I'll read a little bit of my account that I've written in my book for 11th of May, and then a little bit about the 12th. Now, what I did in the book was that I used everything is historical, but I've used a lot of narrative how should I say? I've used a lot of instruments for narration. Like I've used different people to describe what is happening. So I didn't want to make it a very boring book by just giving descriptions. So whatever happened has been is being described by various people. And also in the middle of this, remember that on the uprising started on the 16th of Ramzan, 11th May 1857. Now 2 days before that, Falakara has sat in Mayu for Mirza Kaisar. She is to be married to Mirza Kaisar on 18th of Ramzan. And today is 16th of Ramzan. 2 दिन पहले से वो मायू बैठ चुकी है. एंड मायू की दुल्हन जो होती है वो फिर किसी से मिलती नहीं है, कोई मर्द उसकी शक्ल नहीं देख सकता. शी जस्ट सिट्स इन सेक्लूजन. एंड इसको कहते हैं कि नूर उतर आता है अगर आप इस तरह से छुप के बैठते हैं, मतलब एक हुजरे में बैठते हैं अकेले, थोड़ा सा आप ख्याल भी करते हैं, आप थोड़ा सा सोचते भी हैं, तो नूर उतरता है. मैंने भी ऐसे किया था. मैं 5 दिन मायू बैठी थी. द डे ऑफ रेकनिंग, द 16th रमजान 11th में, जैसे मेरा कायदा है इस किताब में, मैंने हर चैप्टर एक शेर से शुरू किया और एक शेर से ख़त्म किया है. वो शेर जो है वो बिल्कुल एप्ट होता है फॉर द चैप्टर, एंड इट इज़ रिटन बाय अ पोएट हु वाज राइटिंग बिफोर 1857. ए दिल तमाम नफ़ा है सौदाए इश्क में, एक जान का ज़िया है सो ऐसा ज़िया नहीं. This is by Mufti Sadruddin Adurda, who was the chief qazi of Shahjahanabad at that time, and he also became a leading figure in the uprising. O heart, there's only gain in the frenzy of love. It entails loss of a life, but that's not such a loss. The gong for the Sehri struck. Ramzan chal raha hai. Many people were already awake, for they were reciting the Quran Sharif or praying nafals. It was unusually hot for 11th May, and those leading lives of leisure felt it was advisable to stay awake at night and sleep the roza through. Only those who had to work for a living slept a while at night to retain some energy for their work. Huzur Pur Noor finished his Fajr prayers and came to sit in the Jharoka for the daily darshan of his subjects. In the Sheher-e-Pana, Bhure Khan, throwing caution to the winds, went running to Thakur Sahib's Haveli. Now these are conspirators who are active in the what the Angrez call the Sipahi mutiny. I call it the uprising. He had received information from Baldev Singh, the Daroga in charge of the Jamna bridge, that there had been a fight between the European and the Hindustani soldiers in Meerut, and that the latter were marching straight upon Delhi, burning all the bungalows and killing all the Europeans and Christians along their route. The mutineers are said to be very close to Delhi. Now this book, I have used the word mutineers because ये किताब मैंने I have written in 1857 itself, जबकि उन्हें बागी ही कहा गया था. ये तो हम hindsight में कहते हैं uprising and जंग आज़ादी. The collector had at once ordered Baldev Singh to rush to his post and ensure that all city gates leading to the Jamna bridge were closed. Having given this news, Bhure Khan ran towards the courthouse to find that the collector had driven off in his buggy to the direction of the commissioner's house. Bhure Khan had taken Mushtari Bai's Tabalchi percussionist with him to show him the way. The Tabalchi, by virtue of his position in the quota of one of the city's prominent courtesans, knew many people. Okay, उसके बाद फिर रास्ते में किस तरह से वो लोग मिलते हैं, क्या होता है. Meanwhile, Mushtari had sent a message to Haryali that she should rush to the Qila and find out what was happening there. Haryali reached the महल to find chaos. हरियाली इज द सूत्रधार ऑफ द मूवी मनिहारन है, और वो हर जगह ट्रैवल करती है, स्पाई भी करती है और खबरें पहुंचाती है उन लोगों को जो अपराइजिंग में इन्वॉल्व है. Haryali reached the mahal to find chaos. The nursemaids and milk mothers were guarding their charges Some of the senior begums were having hysterics and everyone was generally running around like headless chicken. Gul Bano was still sleeping. Gul Bano Basha ki poti thi, Dara Bakht ki beti thi. While her mother was wailing that they would be murdered in their beds if she didn't get up. Stop exaggerating, Ammi Jan. Nothing can happen to me in Dada Jan's Qila. I am safe here. Arey beti, you don't know. All those huge soldiers, Sawars and Purbiyas and Tilangas have entered the fort with their dirty boots and huge rifles. They are now in the Diwan-e-Khas. May Allah have mercy on us. She sat on her haunches and started wailing loudly. अच्छा उसके बाद फिर ये सब जो है लोग आ रहे हैं all that time जैसे as these royals have no sense of impending doom, thought Haryali as she rushed towards the Khurjahan is where Falak Ara stays. As she passed by the Choti Baitak, she saw another mother trying to wake her daughter up. Gamza Begum, daughter of Mirza Abu Bakr, was still sleeping. Her mother was wailing. A ghadar has started in Meerut and the forces which have rebelled against the British have entered the Qila and have arrived under the Qila, and the Qilazar is speaking to them from the Jharoka. Her attendant was trying to wake them up. Now Haryali reaches along with other nursemates, Mubarak and Nasiman, into the Khurd Jahan ke upar Falak Ara used to stay with her aunts, Rashid Jahan and Sikandar Ara. What if they come here? We know what happened when Ghulam Qadir soldiers entered the haram. Sikandar Ara Begum was weeping in a corner, remembering tales of Ghulam Qadir's devastation of the haram sara. Is that why Allah has given me such a long life so that I can witness it? Why aren't I dead? Rashid Jahan Begum, Falak Ara and all the attendants were massaging her feet and shoulders to calm her down. What has happened, Mubarak? Haryali asked a friend. Mubarak has reached the Qila at dawn after her sehri to get an early start to the wedding preparation and had witnessed most of the events. She had come and described them to Sikandar Ara Begum and now regretted it. The lady was inconsolable. Haryali dragged Mubarak away from the old princess and asked her to relate the day's happenings. Arey kya batao Haryali, qismat phoot gayi hamari. What can I say? Our fate has turned. And bad days are here. Arey, why did this Sawar have to come just today? My Shehzadi's nikah is the day after. How am I going to do anything with so much confusion? Don't panic, Mubarak. We are all here to help you. But tell me what happened. Who are these Sawars? Cajoled Haryali. I don't know. These Karam Jale Sawars, they of bad deeds, have rebelled against the Angrez officers and come to the Qila. By then, Falak Ara, who had managed to make Sikandar Ara Begum sleep, came to Mubarak for some work. Then, when she heard Haryali's question, she said, "Sit down, Haryali. I saw everything from the window. Let me tell you." Some 20 cavalrymen from Meerut came to the Zere Jharoka just under the balcony and started shouting for mercy. Duhai Basha Hazur Duhai, they called her. You know how soft-hearted our Huzur Purnur is. He asked them what had happened. Our faith is being corrupted, Huzur, they told him. Our esteemed Basha replied that he is but a faqir and has no powers and would recommend their case to the Angrez officers. But they insisted that the Basha lead them against the Angrez Fauj. Meanwhile, Huzur had summoned Captain Douglas the Kiredar. I couldn't see him from here, but I could hear him trying to pacify the sepoys. I heard, Huzure, Anwar tell the captain, what is all this trouble that has erupted? How has a religious fight reared its head? This is a case of faith and principles. Religious persecution and bigotry are very bad things. Many kingdoms have been destroyed by it. Innumerable people have been killed by it. It's essential that this be sorted out immediately. Achha, this dialogue is from the Astane Ghadar, an eyewitness account by Zahir Dehlvi, who heard the Basha say this. God forbid that the sedition and the riots spread all over the country and innumerable people are killed and there is a loss in revenue. The prevailing peace and prosperity will suffer. As far as possible, we should work with a cool mind and use a gentle approach. These people are illiterate. One should cajole them and insist that they desist from this. I am surprised that you didn't know of this problem already. The Qilidar said he would sort it and left. Qilidar Douglas the Angrez the. He was killed that same day. Huzur withdrew to the Khasgah, that is the bedroom apartments, as he was very upset. Mubarak, who had calmed down a bit, said, but that is not what I am worried about. The Sawars have stormed their way into the Qila. I heard that they have entered the Qila. Haryali had heard enough and knew that Thakur Sahib's worst fears had come true. The Ghadar had started 20 days earlier. She had to rush to his house. Picking up her basket of bangles, she made her way out of the Qila to see that there were Sawars everywhere. They seemed to have taken over the Qila. As she exited the killa, she saw scenes of mayhem. The residents were running away to safety and the shopkeepers were closing their shops. All this is based on historical account. Daatan Gadar, Jeevan Lal ki roznamcha hai, Muinuddin Hasan ka account hai, as well as stories from other Urdu accounts of the 19th and 20th century. The city of Shahjahanabad was buzzing with the news of the arrival of the sepoys and Sawars from Meerut. The Badmashis, 800 ordinary criminals whom the sepoys had freed from prison in Meerut, had accompanied them and were looting and plundering the bazaar and killing people. With more prisoners being set free in Delhi, local scoundrels had joined in the looting. Meanwhile, Zorawar Singh, Mirza Kaisar ka cousin hai. Mirza Kaisar's mother was a Rajput princess. Meanwhile, Zorawar Singh had reached Mirza Kaisar's house. Kaisar and Mirza Aftab were pacing restlessly in their house. They had already heard details of what had happened in under the Jhiluka. Seeing Zorawar, Mirza Aftab asked, "Do you have any news? What is happening in the city?" "Salam, Pupajan. Yes, my clerk brought news for me from the Thana. It seemed that yesterday in Meerut, when the officers were preparing to go to the church for the evening service, they heard sounds of muskets followed by columns of smoke and realized that the sepoys of the 3rd Cavalry had rebelled against them. The rebels then opened the jails where their comrades were imprisoned and released not only 84 officers but also all the Badmash who were incarcerated. They then attacked and killed the European officers and burned their houses. Soon after sunset, the rebel sepoys took the road to Delhi." So all these, conversations about what happened and all this is happening. And then after that, now I come to the happenings of 11th May in Delhi itself, in Shahjahanabad. Mirza Aftab, that is Kaisar's father, and Mirza Aftab and Kaisar, they go and sit with, go to find Hakim Saab, Ehsanullah Khan, who was the Wazir, and Mehboob Ali Khan was the Wazir, Ehsanullah Khan was the personal physician. Mehboob Ali Khan died during this uprising, and Hakim Ehsanullah Khan was made the Wazir. They were sitting there when they heard a loud explosion. It was as if the earth had been rent asunder and the day of reckoning had come. All they could do was call out to Allah for forgiveness. Maut ka ek din muayyan hai. This is the next chapter, chapter 27, Streets of Blood. Maut ka ek din muayyan hai. Neend kyun raat bhar nahi aati? Mirza Ghalib. Contrary to the swaying carefree gait with which she usually negotiated the labyrinthine bazaar, today Haryali had hurriedly forced a way through the teeming streets to reach Thakur Saab's house. Shops were being closed and groups of Badmash had now been let off by out of the Delhi jails by the sepoys running around trying to loot whatever they could. She could hear some sepoys screaming in front of her haveli that the inmates should give up the Firangis they were hiding inside, but she had no time to find out. Her mind was inflamed by the suddenness of the events and what effect it would have on their plans. Mir Saab and Imam Saab were already there. It was close to 9 in the morning. All this happens and then they are talking about what happened and that, this has been just too fast and it should not have happened so early. And in the meantime, the rebels looted the bank. They killed the bank officers and everybody ran away with money. They blew up the magazine. All these things. The Delhi Bank is what is today known as, it's the Central Bank of India, Begum Samru ki Koti. And also in Bhagirath Palace in Old Delhi. And the magazine is on Lothian Road. You can go and see that also there. And there is also on Lothian Road a memorial called the Telegraph Memorial. While all this was happening, the Angrez sitting in Ambala had no idea what had happened. But two officers, that is Lieutenant George, there were two officers who had, they sent a telegram to Ambala telling them what had happened. By then, a lot of things had happened. Like the Dr. Jeevan Lal, a Kayast by birth, who was also a physician, had been converted to, along with Imamuddin and Master Ramchandar had converted to Christianity. The Sawars entered the hospitals as angels of death for Dr. Jeevan Lal. They started questioning him. And Jeevan Lal was killed, Muinuddin was killed, but Master Ramchandra was able to escape. Two young signalmen, William Bendish and I.W. Pillington, posted in telegraph office on Lothian Road near St. James Church in Old Delhi, had managed to send a brief warning of the disaster to Ambala late in the afternoon before fleeing themselves. The signalers were able to report only that the Europeans had been killed before they signed off with the cryptic sentence, "We are off." This is how the British were able to come. They came with the army of the Maharaja of Patiala, and after that, from 30th of May onwards, Battle of Hindon took place, and then the siege of Delhi started. Now 12th May, that is today, 17th Ramzan. आफत शबे तन्हाई की टल जाए तो अच्छा, घबरा के जो दम आज निकल जाए तो अच्छा. The faster the calamity of this night of loneliness gets over, the better. If I die today from the confusion, it is better. ये रिंद लखनवी का शेर है. The city was up early again for Sehri. As Haryali passed by Kucha Mir Ashik, she heard the dhobis discussing the events of the day before. When one of the elder men got up and said, "Bahut ho gaya gapshap, we have to go off to work. What difference does it make? We are going to benefit neither from the Angrez nor the Badshah. खून हो या गुलाल, हमारी किस्मत में तो उसे धोना लिखा है." This is the kind of idealistic attitude that जिसको हम आजकल वो कहते हैं. He, however, managed to wash the grief of her son's death by ensuring the Firangis were removed, and Badshah Salamat was once again made the sovereign. She reached the palace to see that no one had slept at night due to anxiety and were now dozing or praying. खैर ये सब होता रहा. उसके बाद अब मिर्जा आफ्ताब जो है वो दीवाने आम पहुंचे, दीवाने खास पहुंचे. He saw it filled with sepoys and savas. They were demanding an audience with the Badshah Salamat. Mirza Mughal, Mirza Abu Bakr and Mirza Khizr Sultan were also there. ये दो बेटे हैं बादशाह के, मिर्जा मुगल, मिर्जा खिज़र सुल्तान, अबू बकर पोता है, मिर्जा फखरू का बेटा. The Shehzadas were thrilled at this turn of event. They had a chance to overthrow the oppressive company rule and resurrect back the glory of the Khandan-e-Taimuriya. They knew that they had a great fighting chance with the 6th regiment trained by the British themselves that had come to offer their services to the Badshah. The biggest arsenal of the Angrez had been damaged, and though they hadn't been able to procure the weapons, the Angrez couldn't use them against them either. They were sure more men would join them, and the lack of experience didn't bother them. The blood of Babar and Akbar Badshah ran in their veins. They were born to conquer. Subedar Gulab Shah ordered his men to get the Takht-e-Huma, which had been in storage since the Badshah's Tajposhi, from the basement. It was dusted and kept in readiness for Huzur Mahabali to appear. Mehboob Ali Khan sent Aga Jan Khaja Sara with the message. Mirza Aftab and Mehboob Ali Khan were trying to bring some semblance of order in the Diwan-e-Khas when the Naqib called out, "Attentions, greetings, present your salutations to the refuge of the world. Long live the emperor, the refuge of the universe." The Sawars, Sepoys and courtiers who had gathered there stood up in attention. The Hindustani soldiers of Subedar rank presented tribute and described themselves as faithful soldiers awaiting his orders. Muinuddin Khan, who had been the Thanedar of Paharganj, was appointed as Kotwal of the city and instructed to maintain law and order there and to bring the plundering and looting under control. Hakim Ehsanullah Khan, Zahir Dehlvi and many others had also reached by this time. Huzur Alam Panah was seated on the Takht-e-Huma. Takht-e-Huma एक तख्त था जो बहादुर शाह जफर ने अपने लिए बनवाया था अपनी ताजपोशी के लिए. लेकिन जब एक अंग्रेज वाइसरॉय आया, because he did not ask that अंग्रेज to sit down and he made him stand, the British confiscated that Takht-e-Huma. तो उस दिन के बाद ये आज निकाला गया है. And pronounced Huzur Alam Panah the Shahenshah of Hindustan. Nazars were given by all present, and they all pledged to fight under his banner against the company Bahadur. Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar called on Hindus and Muslims to fight loyally for the cause of freeing Hindustan from foreign rule. For this he made the Hindus swear by Ram and the Ganges, while each Musliman had to pledge by placing a copy of the Quran placed on his head. All this is there in Bahadur Shah ka Roznamcha and the accounts of Sirajul Akhbar, etc., which were reporting, and of course Delhi Akhbar. As per the confabulations of Gulab Shah and Mehboob Ali Khan, Mirza Mughal was announced as the new Commander-in-Chief of the Hindustani forces of the infantry, cavalry and other branches of the army. He was ordered to inspect the city and make such arrangements that the powerful could not exploit the poor, and the Kotwal was ordered to declare in the city that if someone had weapons or material from the magazine in this house, he must submit it to the Basha, otherwise he would be treated as a criminal and punished accordingly. The other royal princes such as Mirza Kuchak Sultan, Mirza Khizr Sultan, Mirza Mendu and Mirza Bakhtawa Shah were made colonels of the various infantry army, and Mirza Abu Bakr was made a colonel of the 3rd Light Cavalry. The Shahzadas were given 2 guns each in order to take charge of their regiments at the Kashmir, Lahore and Delhi gates so that they may help bring about order in the city. I am now feeling tired. I'll come back to you tomorrow. Stay tuned. कल फिर से मैं हाजिर होंगी आपके सामने और इसी किताब से और बाकी किताबों से आपके सामने जंग आज़ादी की बातें करूँगी. Take care.